My daughter-in-law Claire made me a special soup last Tuesday. She stood over me, smiling, insisting I eat it while it was hot. Something in my gut screamed, "Don't." So I fed it to my dog Benny instead. 3 minutes later, he collapsed on the kitchen floor, stopped breathing, and died in my arms. Welcome to Stories of Auntie Maya. I share new life stories here every day, and I'd really appreciate it if you hit subscribe and liked my video. Drop a comment down below telling me where you're watching from and what time it is for you right now. I read every single comment, and it helps me to know I'm not alone in this. I'm Emma Carson, 65 years old, and I've lived in this house for 42 years. My husband built the back deck with his own hands. We raised our son Daniel here. When my husband died 3 years ago, I thought I'd spend the rest of my life surrounded by memories and peace. I was wrong. Daniel moved back home 2 years ago with his wife Claire. It was supposed to be temporary. They'd hit some financial trouble, needed a place to stay while they got back on their feet. I said yes because that's what mothers do. You help your children, you open your door, you make room. They never left. Claire started small. She'd offer to do the grocery shopping since she was going anyway. She'd insist on cooking dinner because I looked tired. She'd answer the phone when my friends called and tell them I was resting. I'd call them back later. Except I never knew they'd called until weeks afterward, and by then it felt awkward to reach out. I told myself I was being paranoid. Claire was helping. She was taking care of things. I should be grateful. But there was something in her eyes when she looked at me. Something cold, like she was measuring me, calculating something I couldn't see. Last Tuesday started like any other day. I was in the living room reading when Claire came in carrying a bowl of soup. The smell hit me first, rich butternut squash with cream. It actually smelled wonderful. "I made this especially for you, Emma Shikonla," she said, setting it on the side table next to my chair. "It's a new recipe. I want you to try it while it's hot." I looked up at her. She was smiling, but her eyes were fixed on me with an intensity that made my skin prickle. "That's sweet of you, Claire. Thank you. I'll have it in just a minute." "No, have it now." Her voice was pleasant but firm. "It really needs to be eaten hot. That's when the flavors are best." She didn't move. She just stood there, watching me, waiting. I picked up the spoon. My hand was halfway to my mouth when something inside me seized up. It wasn't a thought, exactly. It was deeper than that. Some animal instinct that screamed danger. "Actually, I need to use the bathroom first," I said, setting the spoon down. "I'll be right back." And Claire's smile tightened. "Emma, the soup will get cold." "Just a minute, dear." I stood and walked toward the hallway. I heard her sigh behind me, then her footsteps heading toward the kitchen. The moment she was gone, I turned back. Benny was lying in his bed near the window, a 12-year-old golden retriever with gray around his muzzle and cloudy eyes. He'd been my constant companion since my husband died. I picked up the soup bowl and carried it to him. My hands were shaking. I didn't know why I was doing this. I just knew I couldn't eat that soup. "Here, boy," I whispered, setting the bowl on the floor. "You want some?" Benny lifted his head, sniffed, then started lapping at the soup. He'd always been a chow hound. Never met a food he didn't like. I watched him drink, feeling ridiculous. What was I so afraid of? It was just soup. I went to the bathroom, washed my hands, took a few deep breaths. I was being silly. Claire was my daughter-in-law. She was family. She wouldn't hurt me. But when I came back to the living room, Benny was standing in the middle of the floor, swaying. His legs buckled. "Benny?" He collapsed onto his side. His body started convulsing. Foam bubbled from his mouth, white and thick. His eyes rolled back. "Benny." I dropped to my knees beside him. His whole body was rigid, shaking. I put my hands on him, feeling his heart hammering against his ribs. "Benny, no, no, no. Mom, what's wrong?" Daniel came running from upstairs, Claire right behind him. They both stopped in the doorway, staring at Benny on the floor. "I don't know," my voice cracked. "He just collapsed. Something's wrong with him." Claire moved forward, her face a mask of concern. "Oh my God, did he eat something?" I looked up at her. She was staring at the empty soup bowl on the floor. For just a second, something flickered across her face. Not concern, not surprise, recognition. Then it was gone, replaced by wide-eyed shock. "Emma, did you give him your soup?" "He was hungry. That soup had onions in it." "Onions are toxic to dogs." She turned to Daniel, her voice rising with panic. "Daniel, we need to get him to the vet right now." Daniel was already moving, trying to scoop Benny up. But Benny's convulsions were slowing. His breathing turned shallow and ragged. I held his head in my lap, stroking his soft ears. "It's okay, boy. You're okay. We're going to help you." But I knew. Somewhere deep down, I knew. Benny took one more shuddering breath. Then he went still. "No." I pressed my hand to his chest. "Nothing." "No, Benny, please." Daniel's hand landed on my shoulder. "Mom, he's gone." I don't remember much of the next few minutes. I remember crying. I remember Daniel trying to pull me away from Benny's body. I remember Claire standing in the doorway, her arms crossed, watching. When I finally looked up at her, she was crying too, perfect tears rolling down her perfect face. "I'm so sorry, Emma," she said softly. "I should have warned you about the onions." "This is my fault." "It's not your fault," Daniel said firmly. He looked at me. "Mom, you shouldn't have given him people food. You know better." I wanted to scream. I wanted to grab him and shake him and tell him that this wasn't about onions, that something was desperately, horribly wrong. But I couldn't speak because I was staring at that empty soup bowl, and a single thought was playing over and over in my head like a siren. That soup was meant for me. Claire tried to kill me, and my dog died in my place. Daniel lifted Benny's body, cradling him like a baby. "I'll take him out to the garage for now. We can bury him in the backyard tomorrow." "No." My voice came out hoarse. "I want a necropsy." Daniel stopped. "What?" "I want to know what killed him. I want the vet to examine him." Claire stepped forward. "Emma, honey, we know what killed him. He ate onions. A necropsy is expensive, and it won't change anything. I don't care about the cost." I stood up, my knees aching. "I want to know for certain." Daniel looked between us, confused and exhausted. "Mom, if it'll give you peace of mind, fine. But don't you think you're overreacting a little?" "No, I don't." I walked to the phone and called the emergency vet clinic. They said to bring him in immediately if I wanted a full examination and toxicology screen. I told them we'd be there in 20 minutes. Claire's expression darkened. "This is ridiculous. Emma, you're upset and you're not thinking clearly." "I'm thinking perfectly clearly." I looked her straight in the eye. "I want to know what was in that soup." Something passed between us in that moment. Understanding. Acknowledgement. She knew that I knew, and I knew that she knew I knew. Daniel carried Benny's body to the car. I grabbed my purse and followed. Claire stayed in the doorway, watching us leave, her face unreadable. At the vet clinic, a young doctor with kind eyes took Benny from us and promised to perform a complete necropsy with a full toxicology panel. The cost was $800. I paid it without hesitation. "Results will take 5 to 7 business days," she said. "We'll call you as soon as we know anything." "Thank you." On the drive home, Daniel tried to talk to me. "Mom, I know you loved Benny. I loved him too. But this is a lot of money for something we already know the answer to. Do we?" I kept my eyes on the road. "Do we really know?" "What are you saying?" I wanted to tell him. I wanted to grab his hand and beg him to see what I was seeing. But I knew he wouldn't believe me. He'd think I was losing my mind, going senile, imagining things in my grief. "Nothing," I said quietly. "I just want to be sure." "Oko." When we got home, Claire was in the kitchen scrubbing the soup pot at the sink. She'd already washed the bowl Benny drank from. Everything was spotless. "I cleaned up," she said brightly. I felt terrible leaving a mess. Of course she did. She was destroying the evidence. I went straight to my bedroom and locked the door. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at my hands. They were still shaking. Benny was dead. My sweet, loyal Benny, who'd slept at the foot of my bed every night for 12 years, who'd licked my tears when I cried for my husband, who'd been poisoned by soup meant for me. I knew with absolute certainty that Claire had put something in that soup, something that would have killed me and looked like a heart attack or a stroke. Natural causes, an old woman dying peacefully in her chair. No one would have questioned it. But now Benny was dead instead, and Claire had to know I suspected. She'd seen the recognition on my face. She'd watched me insist on the necropsy, which meant she knew I was onto her. And if she was willing to kill me once, she'd be willing to try again. I got up and pushed my dresser in front of the door. It wouldn't stop someone determined, but it would slow them down. Then I sat back on the bed and tried to think. I needed proof. I needed to know what killed Benny. I needed to understand why Claire wanted me dead. And I needed to stay alive long enough to stop her. I didn't sleep that night. Every creak of the house settling made me freeze. Every footstep in the hallway sent my heart racing. I kept the dresser pushed against the door and my phone in my hand, ready to call 911 if I heard the doorknob turn. Around 3 a.m, I heard Claire and Daniel arguing in their bedroom. Their voices were muffled through the walls, but I could hear the sharp edge in Claire's tone. Then silence. Then the sound of their door closing. I waited for morning with my bedside lamp on, watching the shadows. When sunlight finally crept through my curtains, I heard movement downstairs. The coffee maker grinding, cabinet doors opening and closing. The usual morning sounds, but nothing felt usual anymore. I got dressed slowly, checking my reflection in the mirror. I looked exhausted, older. My eyes were red from crying and lack of sleep. When I came downstairs, Claire was at the stove making scrambled eggs. She turned when she heard me, her face arranged in an expression of gentle concern. "Emma, how are you feeling? I made breakfast. You need to eat something." "I'm not hungry." "You have to eat." She scraped eggs onto a plate and brought it to the table. "Please, just a little." I stared at the plate. Golden scrambled eggs with cheese, exactly how I usually liked them. My stomach turned. I said I'm not hungry. Daniel came down the stairs, already dressed for work. He kissed Claire on the cheek, then looked at me. "Mom, you should eat. Claire's right. I'll make my own breakfast later." Something flickered across Claire's face. Annoyance, maybe. Or calculation. Then she smiled. "Of course. Whatever you're comfortable with." She dumped the eggs in the trash and washed the plate. I watched her hands move, scrubbing carefully, making sure every trace was gone. Daniel grabbed his keys from the hook by the door. "I've got back-to-back meetings today. I probably won't be home until 7. He looked at Claire. "Can you pick up groceries after your shift?" "Of course." Claire smiled at him. "I'll take care of everything." After Daniel left, the house fell into a heavy silence. Claire poured herself coffee and sat at the table across from me. We looked at each other for a long moment. "You must miss Benny," she said softly. "Yes. It was an accident, Emma, a terrible accident." "Was it?" Her eyes sharpened for just a second. Then she sighed, playing the part of the patient, misunderstood daughter-in-law. "I know you're grieving. Grief can make us think all sorts of things that aren't true. I understand that. Do you?" "I do." She reached across the table like she was going to touch my hand. I pulled back. Her smile tightened. "I care about you, Emma. I know you might not believe that, but I do. We're family." I stood up, my chair scraping loudly against the floor. "I'm going to my room." "Emma, I need to be alone." I walked away before she could respond. Behind me, I heard her cup hit the table harder than necessary. In my room, I locked the door and pulled out my phone. I needed to talk to someone who would believe me. But who? Most of my close friends had drifted away over the past 2 years. Claire had seen to that. She'd answer the phone when they called, tell them I was tired or not feeling well. Promise I'd call back. By the time I found out about the calls, too much time had passed. It felt awkward to reach out. Eventually, they stopped calling. There was Margaret Riley, my oldest friend. We'd known each other for 38 years. Our sons had played together as children. We'd had coffee every Thursday morning for decades, until about a year ago when Claire started. Scheduling doctor's appointments and errands on Thursday mornings. The coffees stopped, but Margaret and I still texted occasionally. I pulled up her number and typed carefully. "Margaret, I need to talk to you. Can you call me when you have a chance? It's important." She responded within 5 minutes, calling you now. My phone rang. I answered on the first ring, keeping my voice low. Margaret. Emma, what's wrong? You sound terrible. I am terrible. My voice cracked. Benny died yesterday. Oh, honey. Oh, no. What happened? I told her everything. The soup. Benny collapsing. Claire's too quick explanation about onions. The way she'd washed everything immediately. My gut feeling that something was horribly wrong. Margaret was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, Emma, that doesn't sound like an accident. Relief flooded through me. She believed me. I don't think it was. Have you talked to Daniel? He thinks I'm overreacting. He thinks I'm just upset about Benny. What are you going to do? I ordered a necropsy, full toxicology. I should have results in less than a week. Good, that's good. Margaret paused. Emma, are you safe there? The question hung in the air. Was I safe in my own home? I don't know, I admitted. I locked my bedroom door last night. I pushed furniture in front of it. Jesus, Emma, maybe you should come stay with me for a few days. I wanted to say yes. I wanted to pack a bag and run. But something stopped me. If I left now, Claire would know she'd scared me. She'd know I was weak. And worse, she'd have free reign of my house, my documents, my computer, everything. I can't leave, I said. Not yet. I need to know what killed Benny first. Then I'll figure out what to do. Promise me you'll be careful. Don't eat or drink anything she gives you. I won't, I promise. And call me every day, morning and night. If I don't hear from you, I'm coming over there. Okay. After we hung up, I felt slightly better. At least someone knew. Someone believed me. I spent the rest of the day in my room, only coming out to use the bathroom. Around noon, Claire knocked on my door. Emma, I made lunch. Grilled cheese and tomato soup. I'm not hungry. You haven't eaten anything all day. I'll eat later. A pause. Emma, you can't stay in your room forever. I can do what I want. It's my house. Another pause. Longer this time. Of course it is. Her footsteps retreated down the hall. I listened until I heard her go back downstairs. Around 4 p.m, I heard the front door open. Daniel was home early. I heard him talking to Claire in the kitchen, their voices low, then footsteps on the stairs. A knock on my door. Mom, can I come in? I opened the door. Daniel stood there looking worried and uncomfortable. Can we talk? I stepped aside and let him in. He sat on the edge of my bed, rubbing his hands together. Claire's worried about you, he started. Is she? Mom, come on. She said you've been in your room all day. You won't eat. You're acting like she did something wrong. She did do something wrong. Oh, Benny eating onions was an accident. She feels terrible about it. I looked at my son, really looked at him. When had he become so willing to dismiss me? When had my words stopped mattering to him? Daniel, I'm your mother. Don't you think if I'm this upset, there might be a reason? I think you're grieving. I think losing Benny brought up all the feelings about losing Dad. I think you're looking for someone to blame. So you're taking her side. There are no sides, Mom. We're family. Are we? The words came out bitter, because it feels like you chose her over me a long time ago. Daniel's face flushed. That's not fair. I'm trying to take care of both of you. Do you know how hard that is? Claire works full-time and still comes home and cooks and cleans and takes care of you. The least you could do is be grateful. Takes care of me? My voice rose. Daniel, I don't need taking care of. I'm 65, not 95. I've been managing this house by myself since your father died. Claire didn't start helping until she moved in. And ever since then, I've had less and less control over my own life. You're being dramatic. Am I? When's the last time I had coffee with Margaret? When's the last time any of my friends came to visit? You can have friends over whenever you want. Can I? Because every time someone calls, Claire tells them I'm unavailable. Every time I try to make plans, suddenly there's an appointment or an errand that can't wait. Daniel stood up, frustrated. Mom, if you have a problem with Claire, talk to her. Don't drag me into it. I'm trying to tell you something is wrong. Why won't you listen to me? 'Cause you sound paranoid." He regretted the word the second it came out. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean that. But the damage was done. Paranoid. That's what he thought. That's what Claire had been telling him. "Get out," I said quietly. "Mom, please leave." Daniel left, closing the door softly behind him. I sat on my bed and put my face in my hands. I wasn't going to cry. I'd cried enough. I heard them talking downstairs again. Claire's voice drifting up, soothing and concerned. Poor Daniel, caught between his difficult mother and his caring wife. That night I waited until the house was quiet, until I heard Daniel and Claire's bedroom door close. Then I crept downstairs to the kitchen. I needed to eat something. My stomach was cramping from hunger, but I couldn't trust anything Claire had cooked. I opened the refrigerator carefully, checking every container. Leftovers from dinners I hadn't eaten, ingredients I didn't recognize. Nothing felt safe. Finally, I found a sealed package of sliced turkey and a block of cheese that was still wrapped. I made myself a sandwich with bread from a sealed bag, checking everything carefully. I ate standing at the counter in the dark, jumping at every sound. This was my life now, hiding in my own kitchen, afraid to eat food in my own home. I finished the sandwich and crept back upstairs. As I passed Daniel and Claire's room, I heard Claire's voice through the door. "She's getting worse, Daniel. Hiding in her room, refusing to eat, accusing me of things. This isn't normal." "I know. I'm worried about her, too. Maybe she needs to see someone, a doctor, someone who can evaluate whether she's okay to live alone." My blood went cold. "She's not living alone," Daniel said. "We're here." But what if we weren't? What if something happened to her because she's not thinking clearly? We'd never forgive ourselves. I pressed my hand against the wall, steadying myself. She was laying the groundwork, planting seeds in Daniel's mind that I was incompetent, unstable, in need of help, or in need of being locked away somewhere. I made it back to my room and pushed the dresser against the door again. Then I sat on the bed and pulled out my phone. 4 more days until the toxicology results came back. 4 days to prove I wasn't paranoid. 4 days to stay alive. The next 3 days passed in a fog of fear and vigilance. I stayed in my room as much as possible, only coming out when I knew Claire was at work. I ate crackers and peanut butter from sealed jars I'd hidden in my closet. I texted Margaret twice a day to let her know I was okay, and I waited. On the 4th day, I decided I couldn't wait anymore. I needed to know who Claire really was, what she wanted, why she was doing this. I waited until Thursday morning. Claire left for work at 8:30, and Daniel had already left at 7. I had the house to myself until at least 3 in the afternoon. I stood in the hallway outside their bedroom, my heart pounding. This was an invasion of privacy. If they caught me, I'd have no explanation that wouldn't sound insane, but I had to know. I opened their door slowly. The room smelled like Claire's perfume, something floral and too sweet. Their bed was made perfectly, pillows arranged just so. Everything was neat and organized, too organized, like a hotel room. I started with the dresser. Claire's side held clothes folded with military precision. Nothing hidden between the layers, nothing unusual. Daniel's side was messier, more lived in. The nightstands were next. Daniel's held a phone charger, a paperback thriller, reading glasses. Claire's held a water bottle, hand cream, and a small notebook. I picked up the notebook and flipped through it. Grocery lists, appointment reminders, nothing suspicious. I moved to the closet. Claire's clothes hung in color-coordinated order. Her shoes were lined up like soldiers. I checked the pockets of jackets and coats. Empty. Then I saw the desk in the corner, a small antique writing desk that had belonged to my mother. Claire had claimed it when she moved in, said she needed a place to pay bills and manage household paperwork. I sat down in the chair and tried the drawers. The top 2 opened easily. Files for utilities, insurance papers, receipts, all organized with labeled folders. But the bottom drawer was locked. I stared at that locked drawer for a long moment. People don't lock drawers unless they're hiding something. I needed to find the key. I searched the room methodically, under the mattress, behind books on the shelf, in the pockets of Claire's work bags. Nothing. I was about to give up when I remembered the jewelry box on her dresser. I opened it carefully. Earrings and necklaces. Nothing expensive. A few bracelets. And underneath it all, in a small velvet pouch, a tiny brass key. My hands shook as I carried it back to the desk. The key slid into the lock and turned with a soft click. Inside the drawer were manila folders, a small notebook, and papers clipped together. I pulled everything out and spread it on the desk. The first folder made my stomach drop. It was labeled Carson Estate, in Claire's neat handwriting. Inside were printouts of property records for my house. The current value was listed as $895,000. There were also copies of my life insurance policy. I didn't even know Claire had access to those documents. The policy was for $250,000. Beneficiary: Daniel Carson. Someone had highlighted the beneficiary line in yellow. The next folder contained printouts from various websites. I flipped through them, my horror growing with each page. Undetectable poisons. A guide. Symptoms of natural death in the elderly. How long does antifreeze poisoning take? Ethylene glycol. Detection and timeline. I felt like I was going to be sick. This wasn't paranoia. This wasn't grief making me imagine things. This was real. Claire had been researching how to kill me. There was more. A handwritten timeline on a piece of notebook paper, written in Claire's precise script. October 2022. Move in. Establish trust and routine. January 2023. December 2023. Gradual isolation. Reduce outside contact. Take over household management. January 2024. Begin health concerns narrative. Plant seeds about Emma's declining mental state. Spring 2024. Incident, accident, illness, natural causes. Summer 2024. Inheritance, house sale, debt repayment. I read it 3 times, each word burning into my brain. This had been planned. For 2 years, every kind gesture, every helpful act, every time Claire had smiled at me and called me Mom, it had all been part of a plan to kill me and take my house. But why? Why were they so desperate for money? I kept digging. At the bottom of the drawer was another folder, this one stuffed with financial documents. Credit card statements with balances in red, collection notices, past due warnings. Daniel and Claire were drowning in debt. Over $80,000 across 6 credit cards. A personal loan for $30,000 that was 3 months past due. They'd maxed out everything. There were also bank statements showing their checking account was overdrawn. Bills marked final notice for medical expenses I didn't know about. My son was broke, completely desperately broke, and he hadn't told me. Underneath the financial papers was a small cell phone I'd never seen before. A cheap flip phone, the kind you buy at a convenience store. I opened it and scrolled through the recent text messages. Most were to a number with no name attached. We're running out of time. The creditors are threatening to sue. I know. I'm working on it. How much longer? I can't keep stalling them. Not much longer, I promise. Just be patient. I've been patient for 2 years. This is taking too long. I said I'm handling it. Trust me. The most recent message was from 3 days ago, the day after Benny died. Something went wrong. She suspects. What do you mean she suspects? The dog died. She saw. Now she's acting paranoid and won't eat anything I make. You need to fix this. Now. I'm trying. Daniel thinks she's losing it. I'm working on getting her evaluated. That will take too long. We need the money this month or we lose everything. Then maybe you should have a better plan instead of just pressuring me. Don't fuck this up, Claire. I stared at that last message. Who was Claire talking to? Who was pressuring her? Who needed the money so desperately? I took pictures of everything with my phone. Every document, every page of research, every text message. My hands were steady now. The fear had crystallized into something harder, something cold. I put everything back exactly as I'd found it, locked the drawer, and returned the key to the jewelry box. Then I went back to my room and sat on my bed, looking through the photos. I had evidence now. proof that Claire had been planning this. But it still wasn't enough to go to the police. Research isn't the same as action. Text messages could be explained away. I needed something concrete, something undeniable. I needed to know what killed Benny. My phone rang. The vet clinic. Mrs. Carson, this is Dr. Patel from Mountain View Emergency Veterinary Hospital. I have your dog's toxicology results. Yes. What did you find? I'm very sorry to tell you this, but your dog was poisoned. The toxicology screen came back positive for ethylene glycol. That's the main ingredient in antifreeze. The concentration in his system was extremely high. This wasn't accidental exposure. Someone gave him a lethal dose deliberately. The room tilted. I'd known in my gut, but hearing it confirmed made it real in a way that stopped my breath. Mrs. Carson, are you still there? Yes, I'm here. I'm required by law to report this to animal control. Intentional poisoning of an animal is a crime, but I wanted to call you first. Do you have any idea how your dog could have ingested antifreeze? I thought about the soup that smelled so good. The soup Claire had insisted I eat while it was hot. Butternut squash is naturally sweet. Antifreeze is sweet. It would mask the taste. Mrs. Carson? I think I know, I said quietly. Can you send me a copy of the report? Of course. I'll email it to you within the hour. And Mrs. Carson, if you believe someone intentionally poisoned your dog, you need to contact the police. This is a serious crime. I will. Thank you, Dr. Patel. I hung up and sat very still. I had proof now. Benny had been poisoned with antifreeze. Claire had been researching antifreeze poisoning. Claire had made the soup and insisted I eat it. But there was still a problem. I couldn't prove Claire had put antifreeze in the soup. She'd washed the pot and bowl immediately. There was no physical evidence connecting her to the poison. A good lawyer would tear my case apart. They'd say I was a grieving old woman looking for someone to blame. They'd point to Claire's internet searches and say she was researching after the fact, trying to understand what happened. They'd say the text messages were about something else entirely. I needed more. I opened my laptop and searched for Claire's maiden name, Claire Holloway. I added obituary and death and started scrolling. It took me 20 minutes to find it. A small death notice from 2019 in a Pennsylvania newspaper. Richard Allen Holloway, 68, of Meadowbrook, PA, passed away suddenly on June 15, 2019. He is survived by his wife, Claire Holloway, his daughter, Jennifer Holloway Martin, and 2 grandchildren. Memorial services will be held at Meadowbrook Community Church. I searched for more articles about Richard Holloway. There wasn't much, but I found one short piece in a local news blog from a few months after his death. Family dispute over Holloway. Estate dismissed a lawsuit filed by Jennifer Holloway Martin against her stepmother, Claire Holloway, has been dismissed by Judge Thomas Brennan. Holloway Martin had contested her father's will, claiming her stepmother had unduly influenced him and may have contributed to his death. However, the judge ruled there was insufficient evidence to support these claims. Richard Holloway's death was ruled as a heart attack, and no evidence of foul play was found. The estate, including the family home and life insurance proceeds, will be distributed according to the will, with the majority going to Claire Holloway. My heart was racing. Claire had been married before, to an elderly man who died suddenly, whose daughter suspected foul play, and Claire had inherited everything. I kept searching. I found Jennifer Holloway Martin's Facebook page. Her profile was mostly private, but her profile picture showed a woman in her early 40s with sad eyes. I sent her a message. Dear Jennifer, my name is Emma Carson. I'm writing to you about your father, Richard Holloway, and his widow Claire. I'm currently living with Claire, and I have reason to believe my life may be in danger. I know this sounds extreme, but I've discovered evidence that suggests Claire may have poisoned my dog, and the poison was likely intended for me. I saw the news article about your lawsuit. I'm so sorry for your loss. Would you be willing to talk to me about what happened to your father? I believe you. Emma Carson. I hit send before I could second-guess myself. It was a long shot. Jennifer might not respond. She might think I was crazy, but I had to try. I forwarded the toxicology report from Dr. Patel to my email so I'd have a copy. Then I created a new folder on my laptop and saved all the photos of Claire's documents. I backed everything up to a cloud storage account Claire didn't know about. If something happened to me, there would be a record. My phone dinged. An email notification. Jennifer had responded already. Emma, I've been waiting 6 years for someone to believe me. Call me. 215-555-0147. Anytime, day or night. We need to talk. Jennifer I dialed the number with shaking hands. She answered on the second ring. Emma? Yes, thank you for responding so quickly. Tell me everything. I did. I told her about the soup, about Benny, about the toxicology report. I told her about Claire's research and the timeline and the desperate text messages. I told her about being isolated and dismissed and afraid in my own home. When I finished, Jennifer was crying softly. She killed my father, she said. I know she did. He was healthy. He played golf 3 times a week. Then he married Claire, and 6 months later he was dead. Heart attack, they said. But I saw how she isolated him. How she got him to change his will, how she controlled every aspect of his life. Did you suspect poison? I did, but by the time I convinced anyone to listen, it was too late. He'd been cremated. There was no body to test, and Claire had cleaned out his medicine cabinet, thrown away anything that might have been evidence. The police said there was nothing they could do without proof. I'm so sorry. Don't be sorry. Be smart. You still have time. You have evidence. You have your dog's body. You have proof of poisoning. Her voice turned fierce. You can do what I couldn't. You can stop her. I don't know how. Even with the toxicology report, I can't prove she did it. Then you need to catch her trying again. Set a trap. Record her. Get a confession. Whatever it takes. Jennifer paused. Emma, I'm going to tell you something my therapist told me after my dad died. When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. Claire has shown you she's willing to kill. She's done it before and she'll do it again. Don't wait for the next attempt. Be ready for it. We talked for another 20 minutes. Jennifer gave me details about her father's death, about Claire's behavior afterward, about the insurance money and the house sale. The pattern was identical. When we hung up, I felt something I hadn't felt in days. Not hope exactly, but determination. Claire had killed before. She was planning to kill again, and I was going to stop her. But first I needed to set a trap. I spent the rest of that afternoon preparing. If Claire was going to try again, I needed to be ready. I needed evidence that would hold up in court. Evidence that couldn't be explained away or dismissed. I went online and ordered a small surveillance camera, the kind that looks like a clock. It could record continuously and save footage to a memory card. Express shipping would get it to me by tomorrow morning. I paid extra to have it delivered to Margaret's house instead of mine. Then I called Margaret. I need your help, I told her. Can you come by tomorrow around noon? Claire will be at work. Of course. What do you need? I'll explain when you get here. Just come prepared to stay for a few hours. That evening I forced myself to leave my room. I needed to act normal. If Claire suspected I'd found her research, she might destroy the evidence or run. I came downstairs around 6. Daniel was in the living room watching television. Claire was in the kitchen cooking dinner. The smell of garlic and tomatoes filled the house. Mom. Daniel looked up, surprised. You're out of your room. I can't hide forever. I sat down in the armchair, the one where I'd been sitting when Claire brought me the soup. The cushion still held the indent of Benny's body from where he'd collapsed. Claire appeared in the doorway, wiping her hands on a dish towel. She was smiling, but her eyes were calculating. Emma, I'm so glad you're feeling better. I'm making pasta, your favorite. It'll be ready in 20 minutes. Thank you, but I'm not very hungry. You need to eat something. You've barely had anything in days. She came closer. I'm worried about you. We both are. Daniel nodded. She's right, Mom. You're losing weight. You look exhausted. I haven't been sleeping well. Claire sat on the arm of Daniel's chair, her hand resting on his shoulder. A united front. Have you thought about talking to someone? A therapist maybe, or your doctor? There are medications that can help with grief and anxiety. There it was, the suggestion that I needed to be medicated, that I was mentally unstable. I don't need medication, I need time. Of course, Claire's voice was gentle, patronizing. But sometimes grief can affect us in ways we don't recognize. It can make us paranoid or fearful. It can make us see threats that aren't really there. I looked at her directly. Are there threats that are really there? Something flickered behind her eyes. What do you mean? I mean, should I be afraid? In my own home? Daniel shifted uncomfortably. Mom, nobody's threatening you. Aren't they? I kept my gaze on Claire. Someone poisoned Benny. The vet confirmed it. Ethylene glycol. Antifreeze. Someone gave him a lethal dose. The room went very quiet. Claire's smile didn't move, but her knuckles went white where she gripped Daniel's shoulder. What are you saying? Daniel asked slowly. I'm saying Benny didn't die from eating onions. He was murdered. Claire stood up. Emma, that's a serious accusation. Are you suggesting someone in this house? I'm not suggesting anything. I'm stating a fact. The toxicology report is in my email if you'd like to see it. Daniel grabbed his phone and I forwarded him the report. He read it in silence, his face going pale. When he looked up, he seemed lost. I don't understand. How would Benny have gotten into antifreeze? We don't even have any in the garage. That's a good question, I said, still watching Claire. How would he have gotten it? Claire's expression shifted from concern to hurt. Emma, you can't possibly think I had anything to do with this. I loved Benny. Did you? Mom, stop. Daniel stood up, anger replacing confusion. This is exactly what Claire was talking about. You're looking for someone to blame. You're making wild accusations. They're not wild if they're true. They're not true. His voice rose. Claire would never hurt Benny. She'd never hurt anyone. You're being cruel and unfair. I stood up too, my legs shaky but my voice steady. I know what I know. The vet is reporting this to animal control. They'll investigate, and when they do, the truth will come out. I walked back upstairs before either of them could respond. Behind me, I heard Claire start to cry. Soft, wounded sobs. Daniel's voice comforting her, telling her not to worry, telling her I was just upset. Good. Let her think I was going to wait for animal control. Let her think I was working through official channels. Let her get comfortable. Because I was done playing defense. The next morning, Margaret arrived at 11:30, right on schedule. I'd been watching from my window to make sure Claire had left for work. Daniel had taken the day off, but he'd driven to the gym an hour ago. I let Margaret in through the back door. She was carrying a small package, the camera I'd ordered. Emma, you look terrible, she said, hugging me tight. I feel terrible, but I can't fall apart yet. I need to do this first. Halt. We went up to my room and I showed her everything. The photos of Claire's documents, the toxicology report, the messages I'd exchanged with Jennifer. Margaret sat on my bed, her hand over her mouth, tears streaming down her face. That evil woman, she whispered. Emma, we need to call the police right now. And tell them what? That I found some internet searches and text messages? That's not enough. They'll say it's circumstantial. They'll say I'm a paranoid old woman with a grudge against my daughter-in-law. But the poison, I can't prove she put it in the soup. She washed everything. There's no physical evidence connecting her to the antifreeze. I pulled out the camera. That's why I need this. I need to catch her in the act. Emma, that's dangerous. And so I was doing nothing. I opened the package and pulled out the clock camera. It looked exactly like a normal digital clock with large red numbers. I'm going to put this in the kitchen. If Claire tries again, it'll record everything. What if she doesn't try again? What if she knows you're watching? She'll try again. She's desperate. Whoever she's texting is pressuring her. They need money this month. She can't back out now. I plugged in the camera and set the time. She's in too deep. Margaret helped me position the camera on top of the refrigerator, angled toward the stove and counter. From there, it would capture anyone preparing food. We tested it with Margaret's phone, and the footage was clear. Now what? Margaret asked. Now I give her an opportunity. I took a breath. I'm going to tell Daniel I want to update my will, that I've been thinking about the future and I want to make some changes. Emma, no. That'll make you even more of a target. Exactly. Claire will panic. She'll think I'm about to cut Daniel out or leave everything to charity. She'll have to act fast. I looked at Margaret. I need you to do something for me. I need you to call me every day at noon and 8 p.m. If I don't answer, I need you to call the police immediately and come to the house. Tell them you have reason to believe I'm in danger. I don't like this plan. I don't either. But it's the only way to get proof. I grabbed her hand. Promise me, if something happens to me, if I end up in the hospital or worse, promise me you'll give everything I've shown you to the police. The photos, Jennifer's contact information, all of it. Nothing's going to happen to you. Promise me, Margaret. She squeezed my hand hard. I promise. After Margaret left, I went back downstairs. Daniel was home from the gym showering. I made myself a sandwich from sealed packages, standing at the counter under the watchful eye of the hidden camera. When Daniel came down, his hair still wet, I was sitting at the kitchen table with a cup of tea I'd made myself. Mom, we need to talk about last night. I know. I'm sorry I upset Claire. I'm just trying to understand what happened to Benny. The vet report doesn't mean Claire did anything wrong. Someone could have spilled antifreeze in the yard. Benny could have licked it up outside. Maybe. I didn't argue. Daniel, I've been thinking. I want to call my lawyer next week. Update my will. His eyebrows rose. Why? Because I'm 65 years old and I haven't looked at it since your father died. I want to make sure everything is in order. Make sure my wishes are clear. Oh, what wishes? Just standard things. The house, my accounts, my life insurance. I want to think about how I want things distributed. Distributed to who? I shrugged. You, obviously, but also charities. Maybe I'll set up a scholarship fund in your father's name. I don't know yet. That's why I want to talk to the lawyer. Daniel's face had gone tight. Mom, if this is about Claire... It's not about Claire. It's about me being responsible. Your father always said I should review the will every few years. I haven't done that. Okay. He didn't look convinced, but he didn't push. When's the appointment? I'm going to call Monday and see when they can fit me in. Probably sometime next week. I left him in the kitchen and went back upstairs, knowing he'd tell Claire immediately, knowing she'd panic, knowing the clock was ticking. That afternoon, I sat in my room and called my actual lawyer. I did need to talk to him, but not about changing my will. Leonard, it's Emma Carson. Emma, how are you? It's been a while. I need your advice. Hypothetically, if someone were planning to harm me in order to inherit my estate, what kind of evidence would I need to protect myself legally? There was a long pause. Emma, is this hypothetical? Not exactly. Are you in immediate danger? I think so. Yes. Then you need to call the police right now. I will. But first I need to know what evidence would hold up in court. What would a prosecutor need to charge someone with attempted murder or conspiracy? Leonard sighed. You'd need proof of intent, means, and opportunity. Intent means evidence they planned to harm you. Means is proof they had access to whatever weapon or substance was used. Opportunity is showing they had the chance to act. Ideally, you'd have physical evidence, witnesses, or a confession. What about recorded conversations? Colorado is a one-party consent state. If you're part of the conversation, you can legally record it without the other person's knowledge. The recording would be admissible in court. Shot and video surveillance in my own home. Also legal. Your house, your rules. Thank you, Leonard. Emma, please be careful and call me if you need help. Real help, not legal hypotheticals. I will. That night at dinner, Claire was especially attentive. She'd made pot roast with potatoes and carrots, one of my favorites. She brought me a plate and set it in front of me with a smile. I thought you might be hungry tonight. You've been eating so little. I looked at the plate. It smelled wonderful. My stomach growled despite my fear. Thank you, Claire. That's very thoughtful. I picked up my fork and cut a small piece of meat. I lifted it to my mouth, then paused. Actually, I'm not feeling well. My stomach is upset. I think I'll just have some crackers. Claire's jaw tightened for just a second. Emma, you need real food. You can't live on crackers. I'll eat when my stomach settles. I stood up, leaving the plate untouched. I'm going to lie down. Of course. Her voice was strained. Feel better. I went upstairs, my heart pounding. Tomorrow was Friday. Claire had the day off. Daniel would be at work all day. We'd be alone in the house. That night, I barely slept. I kept my phone charged and next to my pillow. I had Margaret's number ready to dial. I had 911 ready to dial. I reviewed my plan over and over. When morning came, I heard Daniel leave for work at 7. I heard Claire moving around downstairs, making coffee. I waited. At 8, she knocked on my door. Emma, I'm making breakfast. Are you hungry? Here we go. Actually, yes, I called back. I'm feeling a bit better this morning. I'll be down in a few minutes. Wonderful. I'll make your favorite. French toast. I got dressed slowly, carefully. I put my phone in my pocket with the voice recorder app open. I checked that the camera in the kitchen was still positioned correctly by pulling up the live feed on my laptop. Everything was ready. I just had to walk downstairs and let a woman who wanted me dead make me breakfast, and pray I'd live long enough to expose her. I walked downstairs slowly, each step deliberate. The house smelled like cinnamon and vanilla. Through the kitchen doorway, I could see Claire at the stove, her back to me. She was humming softly. Good morning, I said from the doorway. She turned, spatula in hand, and smiled. It was warm and genuine, or at least it looked that way. 2 years of practice had made her very good at lying. Good morning, Emma. Come sit down. The French toast is almost ready. She gestured to the table where she'd already set a place for me. Orange juice in a glass, coffee in my favorite mug, syrup in a little pitcher. I'm so glad you're feeling better. I sat down, acutely aware of the camera above us recording everything. My phone was in my cardigan pocket, the recording app already running. Claire brought over a plate with 3 slices of French toast, perfectly golden brown, dusted with powdered sugar. She set it in front of me and sat down across the table with her own plate. This looks wonderful, I said. I used your recipe, the one with the cinnamon and vanilla. You always made it for Daniel when he was little. She took a bite of her own French toast. It came out well. I picked up my fork. The French toast did look perfect, but I couldn't stop thinking about Benny collapsing on the floor, about the toxicology report, about Claire's research on undetectable poisons. Something wrong? Claire asked. No, I'm just savoring the moment. It's been a while since we had breakfast together. It has. She sipped her coffee, watching me over the rim of her cup. Emma, I've been thinking about what you said, about updating your will. Oh? I think it's a wonderful idea. It's important to have everything in order. She set down her cup. Have you thought about what changes you want to make? A few things. Nothing major. I cut a small piece of French toast. I want to make sure Daniel is taken care of course. But I also want to leave something to the organizations your father and I supported. The Animal Shelter, the Women's Center. That's very generous. Claire's smile didn't reach her eyes. Daniel will inherit the house, though, right? That's the most important thing. The house is complicated. It's worth a lot of money. There are tax implications. I lifted the fork to my mouth, then set it down again. I'm thinking of putting it in a trust. That way the taxes are handled properly, and Daniel doesn't have to worry about anything. Claire's expression froze for just a second. A trust? That seems unnecessarily complex. Maybe. But Leonard said it's the smartest way to handle an estate this size. I picked up my coffee cup instead. Taking a small sip, it tasted fine. Normal. Especially with the life insurance on top of it. What about the life insurance? I might change the beneficiary structure. Instead of it going directly to Daniel, I could have it go to the trust as well, or split it between Daniel and the charities. I set down my coffee. I haven't decided yet. Claire's hands tightened around her cup. Emma, don't you think Daniel should inherit everything? He's your only child. You wouldn't want him to feel like you didn't trust him. It's not about trust. It's about being smart with money. But a trust means he can't access it right away. What if he needs the money? Why would he need it right away? I looked at her directly. Is there some financial emergency I don't know about? No, of course not. I just think your son should come first. He does come first. That's why I'm being careful. I picked up my fork again. Now should I eat this before it gets cold? Yes, please. You need to eat. Claire took another bite of her own food, but I noticed she was barely chewing, just swallowing quickly. I cut a small piece of French toast and brought it halfway to my mouth. Then I stopped. You know what? I just remembered. I'm supposed to take my blood pressure medication before eating. Give me just a minute. I stood up and walked toward the stairs. Behind me, I heard Claire's chair scrape back. Emma, you can take it after breakfast. No, I'm supposed to take it on an empty stomach. I'll be right back. I went upstairs to my room and closed the door. My hands were shaking. I pulled out my phone and checked the camera feed. Claire was still sitting at the table, but she was staring at my plate with an expression I'd never seen before. Pure rage. Then she stood up. She grabbed my plate and carried it to the sink. For a second, I thought she was going to dump it, but instead, she stood there, staring down at the French toast, her shoulders rigid. She was deciding something. After a long moment, she carried the plate back to the table and set it down. Then she went to the counter and picked up the syrup pitcher. She stood with her back to the camera, her body blocking what she was doing. When she turned around, she was smiling again. She set the syrup pitcher back on the table and sat down. My phone was recording everything, but the angle wasn't perfect. I couldn't see exactly what she'd done. I waited 2 more minutes, then went back downstairs. Sorry about that, I said, sitting down again. I get so confused about my medications sometimes. It's fine. Claire pushed the syrup pitcher toward me. Here, you like extra syrup, don't you? I do. I picked up the pitcher. It was heavier than I expected. I tilted it over my plate. The syrup poured out thick and dark. More, Claire said. Her voice was tense. It's better with lots of syrup. I kept pouring until the French toast was swimming in it. Then I set down the pitcher and picked up my fork. Wait. I looked at Claire. Would you like some more syrup for your plate? No, I'm fine. Are you sure? There's plenty. I said I'm fine. Her voice was sharp now. Emma, just eat. I cut a piece of French toast soaked in syrup. I lifted it to my mouth. Claire leaned forward slightly, watching. My phone rang. Both of us jumped. I set down my fork and pulled out my phone. Margaret's name was on the screen. It was exactly noon. I need to take this, I said. It's Margaret. Can't you call her back? No, it's important. Right, I answered. Hello, Margaret. Emma, are you all right? Her voice was tense with worry. Yes, I'm fine. Just having breakfast with Claire. Oh, you didn't eat anything yet, did you? I looked at my untouched plate. Not yet. Don't. Something's wrong with my car. I need you to come help me. Can you come right now? I understood immediately. Margaret was giving me an exit. Of course. Where are you? I'm at the grocery store on Maple Street. The car won't start. I'll be right there. I hung up and looked at Claire. I'm sorry. Margaret's car broke down. I need to go help her. Claire's face went pale. Now? You're leaving now? I have to. She's stranded. Can't she call a tow truck? She doesn't have roadside assistance, and she's elderly. I can't leave her sitting in a parking lot. I stood up, leaving the plate of French toast untouched. I'll eat when I get back. Mama won't. It'll just be an hour or so. Oh. I grabbed my purse and keys and walked out before she could stop me. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might burst out of my chest. In the car, I pulled out my phone and called Margaret back. Are you really at the grocery store? Yes, I got nervous. I wanted to make sure you had an excuse to leave. Thank you. I'm coming to you. I drove to Maple Street and found Margaret sitting in her car in the parking lot. I parked next to her and got in her passenger seat. Did you eat anything? She asked immediately. No, you called right before I did. I pulled out my phone and opened the camera app. Margaret, I need you to watch something. I pulled up the saved footage from this morning and showed her. We watched Claire make the French toast. We watched her sit with me at the table. We watched me leave to get my medication. Then we watched Claire take my plate to the sink. We watched her stand there with her back to the camera. We watched her reach for something on the counter that we couldn't quite see. We watched her do something to the syrup pitcher. "What did she put in it?" Margaret whispered. "I don't know, but I'm going to find out." I looked at her. "I need to go back to the house. I need to get that syrup pitcher before she dumps it." "Emma, no. That's too dangerous." "She won't try anything in front of you. Come with me." "What about Daniel? Shouldn't we call him?" "Not yet. Not until I have proof." I started the car. "Come on. We don't have much time." We drove back to my house together. Claire's car was still in the driveway. I used my key to open the front door. "Claire, I'm back. Margaret's with me." No answer. We walked into the kitchen. The table was empty. My plate of French toast was gone. The syrup pitcher was gone. Claire had cleaned everything. "Damn it," I muttered. Then I heard water running upstairs. The shower. "Margaret, check the trash. See if she threw anything away." While Margaret searched through the kitchen trash, I opened the cabinet under the sink. Nothing unusual, just cleaning supplies and spare sponges. "Emma," Margaret's voice was strained. "Look." She was holding the syrup pitcher. It had been in the trash, wrapped in paper towels. I took it carefully, holding it by the handle. There was still syrup inside, maybe a quarter cup. "We need to get this tested," I said. "How?" I thought fast. "Dr. Patel, the vet who did Benny's necropsy. She said she'd help if I needed anything." I found a Ziploc bag and carefully poured the remaining syrup into it. Then I sealed it and wrote the date and time on it with a marker. The shower upstairs turned off. "We need to go," I said. Margaret and I walked out quickly. We got in my car and drove straight to the veterinary hospital. Dr. Patel was with a patient, but when the receptionist told her I was there, she came out immediately. "Mrs. Carson, is everything all right?" "No." I handed her the bag of syrup. "I think this was poisoned. The same person who poisoned my dog tried to poison me. Can you test it?" Dr. Patel took the bag, her expression serious. "I can run a basic toxicology screen. It'll take a few hours. How much will it cost?" "Don't worry about that right now. If someone's trying to hurt you, we need to know what's in this." She looked at me carefully. "Have you called the police?" "Not yet. I need proof first." "Mrs. Carson, you need to call them now. This is attempted murder." "I will. I just need to know what's in that syrup first. I need something concrete, Doctor." Patel hesitated, then nodded. "All right. I'll put a rush on it. Call me in 3 hours." Margaret and I went back to her house. I couldn't go home yet. I needed to think. I needed to plan my next move. "What are you going to do?" Margaret asked. "I'm going to wait for the test results. Then I'm going to call the police." I looked at my phone. 2:15. But first I need to do something else. I pulled up my photos and found the pictures I'd taken of Claire's documents, the timeline, the internet searches, the burner phone texts. I sent them all to Margaret's email. "If anything happens to me," I said, "you give these to the police. Everything. And Emma? Promise me." "I promise." At 5:30, Dr. Patel called. "Mrs. Carson, the results are back. The syrup tested positive for diphenhydramine. That's the active ingredient in Benadryl. The concentration was extremely high. If you'd consumed what was in that pitcher, you would have experienced respiratory failure, seizures, and likely death, especially at your age and weight." My hands went numb. "Are you sure?" "I'm sure. I'm calling the police to report this. You need to file a report immediately." "I will. Thank you, Dr. Patel." I hung up and looked at Margaret. Benadryl. She put Benadryl in the syrup, enough to kill me. "That's it. That's proof. We're calling the police right now." But I shook my head. "Not yet. I have the poisoned syrup. I have the camera footage of her tampering with it. But I still can't prove it was her without a reasonable doubt. She could say someone else had access to the kitchen. She could say, I'm framing her. And what do you need? I need her to confess. I need her to admit what she did." I stood up, my mind racing, and I know exactly how to make that happen. "How?" "I'm going to tell her the truth. I'm going to tell her I know everything. I'm going to back her into a corner with no way out. I grabbed my phone, but I'm not doing it alone. I need witnesses, real witnesses who can testify in court. Oh, I called Leonard, my lawyer. Then I called a number Jennifer had given me. Officer Tom Briggs, Margaret's neighbor. Retired police officer, 70 years old, who told me he'd seen cases like this before. Tom, it's Emma Carson. I need your help. I need witnesses for a confrontation. Can you and Margaret come to my house tomorrow morning? I'm going to get Claire to confess. That's risky, Emma. I know, but I have evidence. I just need her to admit it on record. Will you help me? There was a pause. What time? 10 a.m. Daniel will be at work. It'll just be Claire and me, and you and Margaret hiding nearby. All right, I'll be there. But Emma, be smart about this. Don't provoke her into doing something desperate. I won't, I promise. After I hung up, Margaret grabbed my hand. Are you sure about this? No, but I'm out of options. If I go to the police now, Claire could claim the evidence is circumstantial. She could hire a good lawyer and walk away. I need her confession. I need to hear her admit she tried to kill me. And what if she doesn't confess? What if she attacks you? Then Tom will be there to stop her. And you'll call 911. I squeezed her hand. This ends tomorrow, one way or another. That night I stayed at Margaret's house. I couldn't go home. I couldn't face Claire knowing what I knew, pretending everything was fine. Daniel called me 3 times. I didn't answer. Finally, he texted, Mom, where are you? Claire said you left this morning and didn't come back. We're worried. I texted back. I'm staying with Margaret tonight. I need some space. I'll be home tomorrow morning. We need to talk. About what? Everything. I turned off my phone and tried to sleep, but every time I closed my eyes, I saw Claire standing at the counter, her back to the camera, pouring poison into my syrup. Tomorrow I would look her in the eye and make her tell the truth. Tomorrow this nightmare would finally end. I barely slept that night. Every time I drifted off, I dreamed of Claire standing over me with a smile, offering me food I couldn't refuse. I woke up at dawn with Margaret's guest room curtains glowing pale gray. Margaret was already up, making coffee in her kitchen. She looked as tired as I felt. Did you sleep? She asked. Not really. You? No. She handed me a mug. Emma, are you absolutely sure about this? I'm sure. I wrapped my hands around the warm cup. If I go to the police without a confession, Claire's lawyer will tear the case apart. She'll say the camera footage is ambiguous. She'll say someone else could have tampered with the syrup. She'll say I'm a bitter old woman trying to frame her innocent daughter-in-law. But you have the toxicology reports. You have her internet searches. Circumstantial. All of it. I sipped the coffee. I need to hear her admit it. I need witnesses who can testify she confessed. And if she doesn't confess, if she denies everything, then I go to the police anyway and hope it's enough. I looked at Margaret. But I think she'll confess. She's desperate. She's running out of time, and when desperate people are cornered, they make mistakes. At 9:30, Tom Briggs arrived. He was a big man with white hair and calm, steady eyes. He'd brought a small voice recorder and his cell phone. I'm going to record everything, he said. Colorado's a one-party consent state, and you're consenting. This will be admissible in court. Oh, thank you for doing this. I spent 30 years dealing with domestic abusers and con artists, people who hurt the vulnerable. His jaw tightened. This Claire woman is both. Let's get her. We drove to my house in 2 cars. Tom and Margaret would wait in my garage, which connected to the kitchen through a side door. I'd leave it unlocked. They could hear everything from there, and if things went wrong, they'd be close enough to intervene. When we pulled into my driveway, Claire's car was there. Daniel's was gone. He'd texted me that morning saying he had to work a Saturday shift. Perfect. I walked to the front door alone. My hands were steady. I'd been afraid for so long, but now the fear had burned away into something harder, something cold and focused. I unlocked the door and went inside. Claire was in the kitchen washing dishes. She turned when she heard me, and relief flooded her face. Emma, thank God. Where were you? Daniel and I were so worried. I stayed at Margaret's. You could have told us. We were up half the night wondering if something had happened to you. She dried her hands on a towel and came closer. Are you all right? You look exhausted. I am exhausted. I set my purse on the table. We need to talk, Claire. Of course. About what? About you trying to kill me. The kitchen went silent. Claire's expression didn't change for several seconds. Then she laughed, but it sounded forced. Emma, what are you talking about? I'm talking about the soup you made for me. The soup Benny drank instead. The soup that was full of antifreeze. I kept my voice level. I'm talking about the French toast yesterday. The syrup you poisoned with Benadryl while I was upstairs. Claire's face went pale. That's insane. I would never go. Stop lying. I pulled out my phone. I have the toxicology report from the vet. Benny died from ethylene glycol poisoning, antifreeze, the same thing you were researching on your computer. You went through my things? Her voice rose. You searched my computer? I searched your desk, the one with the locked drawer. I opened my photos and showed her the screen, her timeline, her poison research, her burner phone texts. I found everything, Claire, the whole plan. 2 years of isolating me, controlling me, and waiting for the right moment to kill me. Claire stared at the phone, her mouth opening and closing. Then her expression shifted. The mask of concern fell away completely, replaced by something cold and calculating. You can't prove anything. I can prove plenty. I have Benny's toxicology report. I have your research. I have the syrup from yesterday. I had it tested. Diphenhydramine. Enough to kill me. I stepped closer. I also know about Richard Holloway, your first husband, the one who died suddenly 6 months after you married him, the one whose daughter tried to prove you killed him. Claire's hands clenched into fists. That case was dismissed because Richard was cremated. There was no body to test, but Benny wasn't cremated, and the syrup wasn't destroyed. I have physical evidence, Claire. Evidence that will hold up in court. No one will believe you. You're a paranoid old woman who's losing her mind. That's what Daniel thinks. That's what everyone will think. Is that why you tried to have me declared incompetent? So you could control my assets? I pulled out another photo, her texts with the unknown contact. Who are you working with? Who's the person pressuring you? Who needs the money so badly? Claire's eyes flashed with rage. You have no idea what you're talking about. Then explain it to me. Help me understand. I kept my voice calm. Why did you do this? Was it just the money? The house? The life insurance? Just the money? She laughed, bitter and harsh. Emma, you're sitting on almost $1 million in assets and you act like it's nothing. Meanwhile, Daniel and I are drowning. Do you know what it's like to have creditors calling every day? To have collection agencies threatening to sue? To lie awake at night wondering if we're going to lose everything? I didn't know you were in financial trouble. Daniel never told me, because he was ashamed, because he didn't want to worry you. She was pacing now, her voice rising. We came here for help. We thought we'd stay a few months, save some money, get back on our feet. But your precious son didn't want to ask you for money. He had too much pride. So you decided to kill me instead. I decided to solve the problem. She whirled on me. You're 65 years old. You live alone in this huge house. You don't need all this space. You don't need all this money. You could have downsized years ago. You could have helped your son. By dying? By being reasonable. But no, you wanted to keep everything. You wanted to sit here in your perfect house with your perfect memories and let your son struggle. Her face was twisted with fury. Do you know how hard I've worked? Cooking your meals, cleaning your house, managing your appointments? I gave up my career to take care of you. And for what? So you could treat me like hired help? I never asked you to do any of that. Now, you didn't have to ask. That's what daughters-in-law do. We sacrifice everything for our husbands' families, and we get nothing in return. She grabbed the edge of the counter. I did this for Daniel. Everything I did was for him. You tried to murder me for Daniel. I tried to save him. He was going to lose everything. Our credit was destroyed. We were going to be homeless. Tears were running down her face now, but her voice was hard. You were going to die eventually anyway. Heart attack, stroke, whatever. All I did was speed up the inevitable. And Richard Holloway? Was his death inevitable too? She froze. For a long moment she didn't speak. Then her shoulders sagged. Richard was different. He promised to take care of me. He said I'd never have to worry about money again. Then his daughter started poisoning him against me. She convinced him to change his will. I couldn't let that happen. So you killed him. I helped him pass peacefully in his sleep. He didn't suffer. She looked up at me and her eyes were empty. Neither would you have. The Benadryl would have just made you drowsy. You would have gone to sleep and not woken up. Daniel would have found you in your chair, peaceful, natural causes. He would have grieved, but he would have been okay. He would have had the house and the money and a real future. And you would have gotten what you wanted. We both would have. She wiped her eyes. But you had to be suspicious. You had to feed that stupid dog my soup. You had to refuse the tea. You had to run away yesterday. Her voice turned bitter. You ruined everything. I saved my own life. Oh, for what? So you can live here alone for another 10 years? So you can hoard your money while your son suffers? She moved toward me and I stepped back. Emma, it doesn't have to be this way. We can still fix this. You can transfer the house to Daniel now. Update your will. Give him what he needs. Then you can live here as long as you want. I'll take care of you. I'll make sure you're comfortable until you try again. I won't, I promise. As long as Daniel gets what he deserves, I won't touch you. Claire, do you hear yourself? You're trying to negotiate after admitting you tried to murder me. Twice. What are you going to do? Call the police? She laughed. Go ahead. It's your word against mine. You're a paranoid old woman with some circumstantial evidence. I'm a devoted daughter-in-law who's been taking care of you for 2 years. Who do you think they'll believe? They'll believe the witnesses who just heard you confess. Claire went very still. What? The garage door opened. Tom Briggs stepped into the kitchen, his phone held up, recording. Margaret was right behind him. We heard everything, Tom said quietly. Every word. Claire's face drained of all color. She looked at me, at Tom, at Margaret, then back at me. You set me up. I protected myself. There's a difference. I pulled out my phone and dialed 911. Hello? I need to report an attempted murder. My daughter-in-law just confessed to trying to poison me. We have witnesses and recorded evidence. We need police at 847 Oakmont Drive. Claire lunged for the door, but Tom moved faster. He blocked her path, his bulk filling the doorway. Don't, he said calmly. You're not going anywhere. She spun around, wild-eyed, looking for another exit. Margaret had moved to block the other door. Claire was trapped. This isn't over, she hissed at me. Daniel will never forgive you. You're sending his wife to prison. You're destroying his life. You destroyed his life the moment you married him with a plan to commit murder. I felt tears on my face, but my voice stayed steady. I'm not the villain here, Claire. You are. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. Claire sank into a chair, her face in her hands. I needed the money. You don't understand. They were going to take everything. I didn't have a choice. You always had a choice. You chose this. 2 police cars pulled up outside. Officers came through the front door, hands on their weapons. Tom identified himself as a retired officer and explained the situation quickly. Margaret corroborated. I handed over my phone with the recorded confession. One officer approached Claire. Ma'am, I need you to stand up and put your hands behind your back. No, this is wrong. I didn't mean I was just upset. I didn't mean what I said. Ma'am, stand up now. Claire stood, her whole body shaking. The officer cuffed her wrists. As they led her toward the door, she looked back at me one last time. I hope you're happy, she said. I hope it's worth it. Destroying your son's marriage, destroying his wife, destroying everything. You destroyed yourself, I said quietly. I just made sure you couldn't destroy me, too. They took her outside. Through the window, I watched them put her in the back of the police car. Neighbors were gathering on their lawns, watching. In a few hours, everyone would know. Another officer stayed behind to take my statement. I gave him everything. The photos of Claire's documents, the toxicology reports from Dr. Patel, the video footage from the hidden camera, Tom's recording of the confession, Jennifer Holloway Martin's contact information. "This is extensive," the officer said, looking through everything on his tablet. "You've built a solid case. The DA will definitely be able to prosecute with this. What happens now?" "She'll be booked and arraigned. Given the severity of the charges: attempted murder, conspiracy, animal cruelty, I doubt she'll get bail, especially with her prior husband's suspicious death. The prosecutor in Pennsylvania will probably want to reopen that investigation." After the officer left, I sat at my kitchen table with Margaret and Tom. The house felt enormous and empty, silent. "You did the right thing," Margaret said, holding my hand. "Did I?" I looked at the chair where Benny used to sleep. "Daniel's going to hate me." "Daniel's going to understand eventually, once he sees the evidence, once he realizes what she was planning to do." Tom stood up. "Right now he's going to be in shock. Give him time. What if he never forgives me?" "Then that's his choice. But Emma, you saved your own life today. Don't apologize for that, not to anyone." After they left, I sat alone in the quiet house. I should have felt relieved, victorious even. Claire was in custody. I was safe. The nightmare was over. But all I felt was tired and sad and desperately alone. My phone rang. "Daniel." I answered. "Mom." His voice was shaking. "The police just called me. They said Claire was arrested. They said she tried to kill you." "That can't be true. Tell me it's not true." "Daniel." "Mom, please. Tell me this is some kind of mistake, some misunderstanding." I closed my eyes. "It's not a mistake," Claire confessed. "We have recordings. We have evidence. It's all true." Silence. Then a sound like something breaking. "Daniel?" "Why?" His voice cracked. "Why would she do that?" "Because you were in debt. Because she wanted my money. Because she'd done it before." I was crying now. "I'm so sorry, Daniel. I'm so sorry you're caught in the middle of this." "You're sorry?" He laughed, harsh and bitter. "My wife is in jail. My mother set her up. My whole life just fell apart. And you're sorry?" "I didn't have a choice. She tried to kill me, twice. If I hadn't stopped her..." "You could have come to me. You could have talked to me. I tried. You didn't believe me. You called me paranoid." My voice rose. "What was I supposed to do, Daniel? Wait for her to succeed? Let her poison me so you wouldn't be mad at me?" "I don't know. I don't know anything anymore." He was sobbing now. "I trusted her. I loved her. And you're telling me she was planning to murder you the whole time?" "Yes, I have proof. Photos, recordings, everything. The police have it all. I can't do this right now. I can't talk to you right now. Daniel, please. I need time, Mom. I need to think. I need to figure out what the hell just happened to my life. I love you. You have to know that. Everything I did was to protect myself, to stay alive. I love you. I know." His voice was small and broken. "I just don't know if that's enough right now." He hung up. I sat in the empty kitchen, holding my phone, and let myself fall apart. I cried for Benny. I cried for Daniel. I cried for the family I'd thought I had and the lies that had destroyed it. But underneath the grief there was something else, something small, but growing. Relief. I was alive. I was safe. And I had told the truth, no matter the cost. Tomorrow I would start to rebuild. Tomorrow I would figure out how to move forward. But today I let myself grieve. 3 months passed before I could breathe again. Really breathe, not just survive from one day to the next. Claire was denied bail. The judge cited flight risk, the severity of the charges, and the disturbing pattern of behavior involving Richard Holloway's death. The prosecutor in Pennsylvania reopened Richard's case, and Jennifer finally got the investigation her father deserved. They exhumed Richard's body and found traces of digoxin in his tissue samples. Heart medication, but in lethal doses. Claire had another murder charge added to her list. Daniel didn't speak to me for 6 weeks, the longest 6 weeks of my life. He filed for divorce 3 days after Claire's arrest. His lawyer told him to protect himself, to separate his assets from hers before the civil suit started. Jennifer was suing Claire's estate. Richard's life insurance company was suing for fraud. Daniel was drowning in legal fees and debt he didn't even know existed. I wanted to help him. I wanted to pay off his debts and tell him everything would be okay. But Tom and Margaret both told me the same thing. Daniel needed to stand on his own. He needed to face the consequences of the life he'd built with Claire, even if he hadn't known what she was doing. So I waited, and I rebuilt my own life, piece by piece. I changed all the locks. I threw away every pot, pan, and dish Claire had ever touched. I repainted the kitchen a soft yellow instead of the cold white Claire had insisted on. I bought new curtains. I rearranged the furniture. I made the house mine again. I adopted a dog from the shelter, a 3-year-old golden retriever mix named Daisy. She had soft brown eyes and a tail that never stopped wagging. She slept at the foot of my bed every night, and I never once worried about her safety because I was the only one feeding her. Margaret came over for coffee every Thursday morning, just like we used to. My other friends started calling again. I said yes to lunch invitations and book club meetings. I reconnected with people I'd lost touch with over the past 2 years. My house filled with laughter and voices again. I also started going to a support group for elder abuse survivors. There were 12 of us, mostly women in their 60s and 70s. Some had been financially exploited by their own children. Others had been isolated and controlled by caregivers or relatives. One woman had been poisoned by her grandson, who wanted her prescription medications. We met every Tuesday evening in the basement of the community center. We drank bad coffee and ate grocery store cookies and told our stories. Some of the women cried. Some got angry. Some just sat quietly, grateful to be believed. I told them about Claire, about the soup and the syrup and the 2 years of isolation, about how my own son hadn't believed me, about how close I'd come to dying in my own home. And they understood. Every single one of them understood. "You did what I couldn't do," said Patricia, a 72-year-old woman whose daughter had stolen $80,000 from her. "You fought back. You gathered evidence. You protected yourself. I'm so proud of you." Their words healed something in me that I didn't know was broken. On a Tuesday in late March, 7 weeks after Claire's arrest, Daniel finally called. "Mom, can I come over?" "Of course, when?" "Now, if that's okay." "I'll put the coffee on." He arrived 20 minutes later, looking thinner than I'd ever seen him. His eyes were red-rimmed and hollow. He'd aged 10 years in 2 months. I opened the door and we stood there looking at each other. Then he stepped forward and hugged me, just held on tight and cried into my shoulder like he used to do when he was a little boy, and something scared him. "I'm so sorry, Mom. I'm so sorry I didn't believe you. I'm so sorry I chose her over you. I'm so sorry for everything." I held him and let him cry. I know you are." We sat at the kitchen table, the same table where Claire had tried to poison me. I'd thought about getting rid of it, but I decided to keep it. It was my table, my kitchen. I wasn't going to let Claire's actions take anything else from me. "I read everything," Daniel said, wrapping his hands around his coffee mug. "The police reports, the evidence you collected, Jennifer's testimony about her father, the confession recording." He looked up at me with devastated eyes. "She was planning to kill you for 2 years. 2 years, Mom. And I lived with her. I slept next to her. I loved her. You didn't know. I should have known. You tried to tell me and I called you paranoid. I dismissed you. I made you feel crazy for trusting your instincts." His voice broke. "If you'd eaten that soup, if you hadn't fed it to Benny, you'd be dead. And I would have helped her get away with it. Daniel, you're not responsible for what Claire did. But I'm responsible for not protecting you, for not listening to you, for bringing her into your life in the first place." He put his face in his hands. "How do I live with that?" "The same way I'm living with it, one day at a time. with help, with honesty. I reached across the table and took his hand. Daniel, I don't blame you. I was angry at first. Yes, I felt abandoned and dismissed. But I know you loved her. I know you thought you were doing the right thing. She fooled both of us. She fooled everyone. Her first husband, his daughter, you, me. He wiped his eyes. The prosecutor said she's probably done this before. More than just Richard. They're looking into 2 other elderly men she was involved with in her 20s. Both died suddenly. Both left her money. My stomach turned. How many people has she killed? They don't know yet. Maybe 4. Maybe more. He looked at me. Mom, you're the only one who survived her. The only one who figured it out in time. I almost didn't. If it hadn't been for Benny, I stopped, my throat tight. He saved my life. That sweet, loyal dog saved my life. I miss him too. I told Daniel about Daisy then, about the support group, about repainting the kitchen and reconnecting with friends, about how I was learning to feel safe in my own home again. That's good, Mom. That's really good. He hesitated. Are you going to be okay? Financially, I mean? The lawyers said there might be civil suits. People might try to claim you should have known about Claire sooner, that you should have reported her after Benny died. Leonard's handling it. He doesn't think any suits will go anywhere. I acted reasonably. I gathered evidence before going to the police. I did everything right. I paused. What about you? The debt? I'm filing for bankruptcy. It's humiliating, but it's the only way out. Claire hid everything from me. I didn't know about half the credit cards. I didn't know about the loans. He laughed bitterly. I thought we were struggling but managing. Turns out we were drowning and she was planning to murder you to fix it. I want to help you. No. His voice was firm. Mom, I need to do this myself. I need to rebuild my life my own way. I got into this mess by not paying attention, by trusting the wrong person, by not asking questions. I need to get out of it by being smarter, by being responsible. You're my son. I'm allowed to help my son. And you will, just by being here, by forgiving me, by letting me come over for coffee and rebuild our relationship. He squeezed my hand. That's the help I need right now, not money, just you. We talked for 2 more hours, about everything and nothing, about his new apartment, a small 1-bedroom across town, about his job and his therapy appointments and his plans for the future, about my support group and Daisy and Margaret's terrible coffee. When he finally left, he hugged me again at the door. I love you, Mom. I should have said that more. I should have shown it better. I love you too. And Daniel, you're welcome here any time. This is still your home, too. Thank you. After he left, I sat with Daisy in the living room, her head on my lap, and felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. Claire's trial was set for September. The prosecutor said it would be a short trial given the overwhelming evidence, and her recorded confession. She'd been offered a plea deal 20 years for attempted murder, consecutive sentences for Richard's murder, and the other suspected deaths if she'd confess to. Those as well. Her lawyer was advising her to take it. At 34 years old, she'd be 54 when she got out, if she even survived prison that long. Jennifer called me every few weeks to update me on the Pennsylvania investigation. They'd found evidence that Claire had researched Richard's heart medication months before his death. They'd found the pharmacy records showing she'd picked up his prescriptions. They'd found a witness who remembered seeing Claire at a veterinary clinic, asking questions about euthanasia drugs. They're going to convict her, Jennifer said during our last call. My father is finally going to get justice. Because of you, Emma. Because you didn't give up. I'm so sorry for your loss. I wish I'd known about Richard sooner. Maybe I could have. Don't blame yourself for not stopping her sooner. You stopped her from killing you. You stopped her from killing anyone else. That's what matters. In June, I did something I'd been thinking about for months. I started volunteering at the Women's Center downtown, the one my husband and I used to support. They had a program for women escaping domestic violence. helping them rebuild their lives and regain their independence. I taught a class on financial literacy, helping women understand their bank accounts and credit reports, and how to protect their assets. I shared my story, not to scare them, but to show them that survival was possible, that fighting back was possible, that rebuilding was possible. "You saved yourself," one woman told me after class, tears in her eyes. My ex-husband always said I was too stupid to survive without him. But you're 65 and you outsmarted a serial killer. If you can do that, maybe I can figure out how to balance a checkbook. "Oh, you absolutely can," I told her. "And you're not stupid. You're strong. You got out. That's the hardest part." On the first Tuesday in July, I went to my support group and shared something I'd been holding inside. I used to think keeping the peace was the most important thing, that being polite and quiet and accommodating would keep my family together, that if I just didn't make waves, everything would be fine. I looked around at the circle of faces, all of them nodding in understanding, but silence almost killed me. Politeness almost got me murdered, and being accommodating just gave Claire 2 years to plan my death. "So what did you learn?" Patricia asked gently. "I learned that my life is worth fighting for. That speaking up, even when no one believes you, is better than staying quiet. That trust your instincts isn't just good advice, it's survival." I felt tears on my face, but I was smiling. I learned that I'm stronger than I ever knew, and I'm not going to apologize for saving myself, not to anyone. The room erupted in applause. Quiet, respectful applause from women who understood exactly what those words meant. That night, I went home to my clean, safe house. I made myself dinner from food I'd bought and prepared myself. I sat in my favorite chair with Daisy at my feet and watched the sunset through the window. My phone buzzed. A text from Daniel. "Having dinner with Margaret tomorrow. She invited me. Said she's making pot roast. Want to come?" I smiled and typed back. "I'd love to. Should I bring dessert?" "Yes. And Mom? Thank you. For everything. For being strong enough for both of us." I set down my phone and looked around my home. The yellow kitchen walls glowing in the evening light. The photos of my husband and Daniel on the mantel. Daisy's toys scattered on the floor. The sounds of my neighbors outside living their lives. This was my life, my home, my peace, and I had fought like hell to keep it. Claire had tried to take everything from me. My safety, my home, my son, my life. But she'd failed. I was still here, still standing, still building a future. I thought about all the women in my support group, all the people who'd been hurt by the ones they trusted, all the survivors who woke up every day and chose to keep going. We were fighters, all of us. And our lives, our stories, our survival, they mattered. I got up and walked to the kitchen, Daisy trotting beside me. I poured myself a cup of tea made exactly the way I liked it, with no fear of what might be hiding inside. And I raised the cup in a silent toast to Benny, who saved my life, to Margaret and Tom and Jennifer and Leonard and Dr. Patel, who believed me, to Daniel, who found his way back, to all the survivors who fight back and refuse to disappear, and to myself, for trusting my gut, gathering my evidence, and refusing to be a victim. I took a sip of my tea and smiled. I was 65 years old. I'd survived an attempted murder. I'd exposed a serial killer. I'd rebuilt my life from the ground up, and I was just getting started. On screen right now, you'll see 2 new stories I think you'll really enjoy. There are many more waiting for you on the channel, so don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss one. See you in the next story. Until then, take care of yourself and the people you love. With all my love and respect.